everyone. My name is Tomi, and in my 9 to 5, I'm an HR advisor. So when I work, essentially, I partner with business leaders in Europe, Asia, America, Brazil to just roll out the people plan. I'm currently doing this for an oil and gas shipping company, one of the top ones, I guess, in the world, and that's fun. So I'm very passionate about HR in my 9 to 5. Now, a bit of backstory about me is I went to uni in my undergrad degree, University of Southampton. I got a master's degree from LSE, and this was in HR. But prior to all of that, a lot of my life, I was born in the UK, but I grew up in Nigeria, and that's where I call home. That's everything to me. And then I moved here, obviously for school, went back home, then came back to the UK again in 2018. And I really struggled to land a job, really struggled to integrate into the job market. Everything was just really tough for me. So once I finally figured it out, how do you do this whole career thing? That's when I started my career couch. So some of you might know me from my career couch. And essentially my career couch is a job searching platform for, early careers, people, mostly, Black people. I work with Black people. I have a soft spot for immigrants, foreigners, anyone just trying to launch and grow their careers abroad. I started this last year in March 2020, just off of Instagram. I didn't really know what it would become. It was just something I was doing. But since then, I've worked with so many people, and we've gotten into great companies like JP Morgan, Vodafone, Goldman Sachs, just recently Linklaters, we've done Shell, just lots of good companies. I also do webinars like these. And I guess one of my really defining career moments was earlier this year when I won the We Are the City Rising Star in HR and Recruitment award, which just shows that, everything is coming together somehow. So that's just me. And then I just really, really enjoy working in this career space. So in my 9 to 5, working in HR, recruitment, talent acquisition, all of that. And now through my career couch. So that's just a bit of a backstory. And then leading into what we're talking about today, we're talking about, winning job, writing a winning job application. So to make this make more sense, I'm going to flashback to my life in uni, right? So basically in uni, this was me, right? I as I said, I grew up in Nigeria, and then I came here for school, just thinking, I'm just going to go to school, go back home. So I wasn't even really thinking of what can I do beyond. I was literally when I saw this tweet the other day, I was like, yeah, that was absolutely me. I was just doing everything but thinking of my career at that time. And I got to final year, about to graduate, and then I saw people applying for jobs. And obviously I didn't get anything because throughout uni, throughout school, throughout the earlier part of my career, I hadn't done anything. So this is just to say a winning job application is literally a sum total of everything you have done prior to sending in that application. So you really, that's why I love working with platforms like Toby's and, like mine, because we're trying to catch people early to help them not make the mistakes that I made. You just want to go to school, get the grades and come out. You at that very early stage, you have to put yourself out there. There's going to be so many free events. And to be fair, the fact that you're here right now, it means you're doing something right, because I didn't even go to career events when I was in school. So you want to make sure you are putting that best foot forward. And I was so happy when, this is someone I was working with. She reached out to me. She's in her first year of uni. She's like, look, I want to be a lawyer. And I said, perfect. Because right now, what we've done, the free, and there's so much free stuff out there. We've done the, what's that thing called again? The Bright Network. What's that one? The virtual internship. Yeah, the virtual internship with the Bright Network. We've done one with Forage. Right now, she's a student ambassador for Clyde & Co. So just imagine if already in her first year, she's putting herself forward for all these things. That's what's going to help you create this, quote unquote, a winning job application. Right? The reactive job search, it does not work. It's never worked. So reactive job searching is essentially what we call the spray and pray. So you see a job opening, you apply. Next one, you're literally just sending out making as many applications as possible. It doesn't work, and it works less even today because the competition is really stiff. Listen, making as many applications as possible is the best way to waste your time and energy. I should know because that's what I was doing. That's what happened to me. There is so much more to job searching than just making applications. You need some form of a strategy, even early on. right? So get clear. So I guess that's point one of making a winning job application, as we're trying to say. Get kind of clear on what you want, just like, type of job. And I understand that it's very early stage. That's fine. Even I'm still figuring it out now. So just have some form of idea. Like, I saw you want to work, I see you saying consulting, UX, UI, and the different things you were putting in the chat. That's fantastic. What are these roles about? In my first year as a UX or UI designer, what kind of things would I be doing? What kind of company do I want to? And trust me, these can be as vague as possible at this moment. It's just gathering that information that would help you, help you build contacts, help you take advantages of these kind of free things that are out there, volunteering, working on personal projects, learning more about the industry. So getting clear on what you want, then getting clear on the type, who you are and the value you bring. So a lot of students, a lot of early career professionals, like me, we do a lot of things outside work. Toby runs We Are Diverse. So if he was ever going to, I don't know if Toby's going to work, go back into industry, but you could talk about, this is what I do. At interviews, I've shared, when I'm meeting with companies, I share that, look, my career couch is a big part of me. So that is my unique, because there will be so many HR advisors that can do global work. But how many HR advisors are there that have this platform, that are doing, giving back in this way? So you two think to yourself, what is the other uniqueness I can bring? So for example, this person I'm working with, she's a writer. So it's okay, you love writing, you love research. How can we make this, how can we sell this better? So right now, she's volunteering with one of these, I can't remember the name, one of those legal magazines, that she's helping them with weekly articles. Right. So this is just me. This is just my way to encourage everyone to just think beyond making the application. Because, well, if we're talking winning job application, it's the sum total of everything you've done prior to sending that application. And I think one other thing that might be helpful for people is to get into the mind of the employer and really understand, why do companies hire? And to summarize that, it's really to solve a problem. You might think, oh yeah, the graduate scheme, they want to give back. Trust me, there is still a problem to be solved. Is it, they trying to get this new software off the ground, so they need a few testers? Is it, they're trying to build their talent pipeline of investment bankers? So what am I going there to do? So that is, and I'm so sorry, I have to now stop sharing this so I can see if there's anything in the chat, because my screen is acting up.
No, don't worry. We'll get to all the questions properly at the end, but I'll flag if anything really important comes up. Yeah, keep powering through. But no, I think that's a great point. My old mentor used to tell me that, if there were no problems, then we wouldn't have any jobs.
100%.
So you're there to solve a problem, and if you can look at a job description and figure out the problem that's designed to solve, that's really going to help you in the application process. And yeah, just on that, what you're saying about the numbers, I think that's really, really important. I see so many people put down a role without backing up with real evidence. Yes. And the great thing about numbers is it really gives you credibility, right? Because if you say, oh, I worked as a receptionist, that's great. But then if you can say, I liaise with X number of customers per day, then that really helps the employer visualize, what you actually did. And I like to think about it this way, if anybody can put it down on their CV, it doesn't bring a whole lot of weight. But if only you could put it on, then that's going to bring a lot of weight. So only you can add a very specific number which is relevant to your experience that you've done already.
100%. And then even if you do try and you really just can't find those numbers, just think, okay, how else is this being measured? Right. And I've shared a lot about this on, my career couch. If you follow, there are different ways you could rank, there was, you could use like, the best, the most, the first, if you're the first to do something, if it's by a rating scale, maybe you won an award, if it's a range. So for example, you've been working in this company and you're not really sure how many people you're doing this thing for, but it's maybe between 5 and 10, put it down there between 5 and 10. Again, it's not just, the point isn't really, playing around with numbers. It's more about thinking of your day-to-day as achievements, right? Rather than just your role. Because what happens is, first of all, recruitment is very expensive. So if we're investing in someone, we want to make sure that, look, this is the right person. And they've had achievements in the past, because your past achievements are honestly the only indication of your future achievements, basically. Toby, do you have the slides yet?
Absolutely. It's still loading on my email, so not quite yet.
Okay. But then, on that slide, when we put it up, so I just thought to share with everyone, 3 questions to ask yourself before you send off your next job application. Do I really understand what I want and why I deserve it? I say that because that's how we can tell when someone just sends off an application, right? Because they're just desperate to get a job. And I'll be very honest, I've been there. I just really need a job. I wasn't ready. I just need a job. Everyone's working. I need a job. That's fine. But if that's coming through in your applications, in your interviews, that's not good. Right. So think about, do I really understand what I want? So for example, there's an equity research internship opener. Why do I want this equity research internship? Why do I deserve it? Do I understand what this company wants? Because I guess an equity researcher in Goldman may be different from an equity researcher in like another company. So what is this particular company about? What do they want? And have I gone above and beyond to communicate my value? So you see, at this point, we'll get there, because I can see some questions about, CVs and all of that. I think I'm just trying to get everyone to realize, as I said in the beginning, your CV, your application, the interview questions, all of that, application questions, it's a sum total of everything you've done in the past. Otherwise, you're just going to be creating a pretty CV of nothing. So when a lot of people, I need to, book a CV review and all of that, I'm like, okay, let's talk first. What do you want, right? Have you done this in the past? If you're making a career change, how come you're making a change? What evidence do you have from your previous, work experience that makes you, the best candidate for this job? Okay, and then when I think, I was chatting with Toby and he says, what do you think employers are looking, what are they looking at from early career job applicants today? And really the answer is just, they're looking for a solid foundation that can easily be built on. So they're not looking for, you're not going to be an expert, right? And by my definition, in the early stages of your career, I honestly think that's the first 10 years, because that's when things are still making sense. You're trying different things. So at that early stage, you don't need to have everything, and you won't have everything. Employers know that. If you're a fresh grad, they know you've just graduated. The chances of you knowing, I don't know, everything is very slim, right? So they're looking for that willingness, the ability to learn. And this can come through in several ways. So number one, definitely be a strong academic background. I know more and more in recruitment these days, we're trying not to prioritize, like degrees and all of that. But I mean, I have to say, if someone comes with the first class and, another person doesn't, and it's down to, one more making the final decision, if that's the only differentiator, then we're just going to have to go with that. So, it doesn't have to be.
I should be sharing now, Tommy. Can you see that?
Oh, yes. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. What slide? Am I on the right slide?
Yes. No, this is fine.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Toby. Okay. So, as we were saying, they're looking for that willingness, that ability to learn, and that can come through in several ways. Number one is the strong academic background, as we said. Number two is, as we said, the can-do. So that's your technical ability. If you're applying for a finance role and you have literally no experience with Microsoft Excel, that's not going anywhere. So show forth those digital skills. And then, we then need like the right mix of soft skills, academic qualifications, the accomplishments, all of that, they will look good on your CV, right? So they might get you an interview most likely an interview. But it's the soft skills that will help you with sealing the deal. So, the communication skills, how are you selling yourself in the interview? They could give you some, what's those things, like technical tests. So they're trying to test your verbal and, non-verbal communication skills. They're looking at teamwork, problem-solving abilities, all these generic soft skills that you probably know about. But most importantly, always ask yourself, what values are the most important for this job, for this company, right? So if you're applying for a role that's very big on like teamwork, and you're not showing how you worked on project teams, and then, even this teamwork abilities, it could literally come from projects you've done at school, were you like a course lead, stuff like. So what kind of skills are valued in, look at the company's, their values, right? Their vision, what are they showing forth, and then embrace those. Let me have a look in the chat, in the Q&A. Is that, or Toby, do you want to ask anything before we move on? I just want to quickly check.
Yeah, no, keep powering through, Tommy, and then we'll get to the questions at the end.
Okay, question at the end. Okay, so this is me just trying to paint a picture of understanding, like change your mindset when it comes to job searching, right? Because it's really at the point where you're sending off that application. This is because you've done everything else that will make that application look good. Okay. So we can go to the next slide. I think it's Toby. So now CVs. I know CV tips are, everyone's always asking for CV tips. So I've tried to summarize this as best as I can. And I think the first thing I'll say is when it comes to your CV, and I'm going to keep this, I have to say I'll keep this quite generic because obviously like a tech CV is probably different from, marketing CVs. I was looking at some of the CVs from people going into like TikTok, and Pretty Little Thing, they were like pink and like colorful and beautiful, which would never fly in a company like mine, so find out what works in your industry. But your layout is just as important as your content, because we're all visual beings, right? You judge things based on what you see, and then every role these days is so heavily oversubscribed. So if I'm receiving 50, 60 CVs for one role, I promise you, and I'm sure everybody else will tell you, the ones that are easiest to just power through, those get priority. So your layout is just as important as your content. And that layout, as I said, will vary depending on your industry. So, if you're in something very creative, you probably want to show your creative side. But if you're going to more traditional roles, you probably want less of that. And I always focus on the length. Now, the length, being that this is early careers, right? So I'm assuming everybody on this call, maybe between no work experience to maybe 5, 6. Personally, you can work on getting your CV down to 1 page. If it's 2 pages, that's fine. But that whole 1-page thing is basically just me trying to explain that a lot of focus is paid. We pay a lot of focus to the first page of CVs. If you're not able to capture what the company needs in that first page, the chances of us going to the next page are really slim. So when I'm going on about, okay, keep your CV to 1 page, honestly, all I'm saying is maximize the use of that first page. Take out all the unnecessary fluff, right? Leave out irrelevant content, because your CV is really just a summary. And when I work with people that are so convinced their CVs cannot go down to 1 page, it always goes down to 1 page. There's a lot of fluff on CVs these days. So just get straight to the point, right? And then your content, as we've said, is the sum total of everything you've done before you started writing the CV. So give us the results, give us the accomplishments, give us the numbers, the figures, give us the wins, right? So that's why I always make people avoid phrases like, responsible for. When you say you were responsible for something, fantastic, but did you do it? Did you excel at it? Everybody can be all responsible for something, somewhere. But the people that excelled at it, the people that, have the receipts to show for it, those are the ones we pay attention to. And then avoid, rookie mistakes like, contact details. Just keep your contact details clear and professional, your name. You also don't want to give too much information. And the reason people would say, oh, you don't need your full address. Well, number one, safety, because I know there's GDPR, but CVs could end up anywhere. So we don't need your full address. Also, you kind of want to help yourself avoid location bias. So say, for example, you're in Manchester right now, but if you get this dream role in London, you'll be in London in like a week and you start the job. There's no point then putting the day you're in Manchester, because it might then work against you. Another tip for your CV is so you see, I'm trying to keep it as generic as possible, as I said, because we have different industries on here, but lead with your strengths. So if you're a student or you're a fresh grad, your strengths right now are it's your degree. So, and I always say that when people ask the question, so should I put my work experience first or should I put my education first? Well, what is your strength right now? If you've had maybe like 6 years work experience, you went back to school to study maybe something completely unrelated just because you had a flair for that, then you probably, so what I mean is maybe you've worked 6 years in like investment banking, but you were so curious and you just really like, maybe like content creation. So you went and did a degree in like social media marketing, but you still want to go back in the investment bank. What is your strength at that point? Your strength is your 6 years of experience. So you can put your work experience first, But if you've had maybe like 2 or 3 weeks here and there and you're a fresh grad, yeah, you could go with your education because that's your strength at that moment. Another thing with the content of your CV is just always remind yourself, let me give the people what they need, right? And then what they need is not every single thing you've done. So, another thing with, for going back and listing, I think the most common one is listing every single module you did at school. Okay, fine. But what, always, I think if you ask yourself, why am I adding this? What is this doing for me? If it's showing that, oh, look, I make a good researcher because I actually studied, this subject and I aced it, fine. To put that in, but like listing out all the modules just takes up space, right? Go straight with your transferable skills, your achievements, and really embrace your extracurricular activities, like school projects, external interests, because, if you, number one, they help you when you have little to no work experience. So, someone I was working with recently, she's a construction management graduate, and, no work experience yet, but for her final project, she led a refurbishment of a school sports center, and they did the whole project management and all. So that is very valid experience, right? And I also shared here on this slide, if you don't have work experience, you could volunteer. So I know in recent times, volunteering has been catching a lot of bad press. Well, I volunteered to help some of my clients. So if you can, if you feel like, look, I've tried everything, I can't get this experience, I know this company that could use some hands, it's not going to cost me too much, volunteer, right? And literally one of my clients, she volunteered and she did so well, they made her an offer, like a proper job offer. So volunteer, that's there. Again, these internships, virtual, or those that have low requirements, you can go into that. Freelancing is another way that people are selling their experience these days. So if at any point I ever thought that, oh, look, I actually want to go into coaching full time, right? I can sell all these freelance experience I've done with coaching. So you can create your own experience through like short-term projects, long-term projects, or building, a side hustle to sell your skills. And the number one, which that should actually be at the top, to be fair, is networking. Because if you're well connected, and you have good people in your corner who can speak for you, they can mention your name in rooms, connect you to opportunities, or even if you go for all these career fairs, insight days, speak to employees, connect with them. Networking goes beyond, well, I will say, try not to make it too transactional, but actually get to know people, because there's something we talk about in HR, and it's the hidden job market. So the hidden job market is literally jobs that are not advertised. There's probably sent on WhatsApp, or just somebody saying, do you have anyone doing that can do this? And whatever jobs you see being posted out there, the hidden job market is at least 10 times bigger. So you want to tap into that, and then you can also locate the hidden job market through job agencies, recruitment agencies. Sorry. Okay, is everyone still with me? Let me just look in the chat.
Yeah, we're all good. Yeah.
Okay, so I think so that's it with this slide. How just your CV, as I said, I try to keep it as generic as possible because they're different industries on here. But remember that your CV is in response to a job description. So look at it this way: the job description is a question. The job description is saying, do you have this? Your CV must say, yes, I have this. Well, I mean, not everything, because if you have everything, then you're overqualified. But essentially, you have to target your CV to what the job description is saying. So you might be a whiz at cooking. That's fantastic. Happy for you. But this role, they're looking for a finance analyst, and the company, they're talking about environmental sustainability. They need a finance analyst to come and take over sorry, I'm just making up things here because I don't really know what finance analysts do. Sorry. They need someone to come and take over the finance system. They've told you all these things, but then you spend a whole paragraph talking about, my hobbies are cooking. I have experience working in, so something completely unrelated, right? So you want to make sure that when it comes to these job descriptions, a lot of people, what they'll do, they pick up a job description, go straight to responsibility, say, yes, I can do that, then sending their CV. Start reading job descriptions from the top. Because, they'll give you that short blurb saying XYZ company is a this, is a that, is a this. those are all clues as to what they do and who they're looking for, right? XYZ company is the leader in efficient energy management, all of this sustainability. We recently won an award for top ESG employee of the year. So what's that telling you? They like sustainability. So you could start thinking, was there any time that I had worked on any kind of project that would show that, look, I'm all, and to be fair, when you're doing these kind of things, if the answer is no, that's fine, right? Don't make up stuff. I'm just saying, think of the things in your life that could help you based on what this opening summary is saying, right? Because that opening summary is giving you a hint of the role. It's giving you ideas on the team. So, you could read something like, this role will be reporting into the head of people for Asia. So you go on LinkedIn, who is the head of people for Asia in this company? Look at them. What are they posting about? So these are how you're picking up clues that you could then translate into your job description, into your CV, sorry. Look at the buzzwords again. So if they go on and on about, this role is for a team player. We're very, this team-oriented company, team. Make sure you are giving examples of when you worked in teams, right? If they're saying this role will suit somebody, this role works with numbers, attention to detail, numbers, you talk, they love their numbers. So make sure you're selling those in your CV. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is job descriptions, because I develop them for a living. They're written in order of priority. So the very first thing you see there is probably the most important. So rearrange your CV in that way. So if the first bullet point is saying, we need somebody who is, who can manage the operation of 70 vessels across, XYZ countries. Think to yourself, how many vessels have I operated across how many countries? Make sure that's your first bullet point as well. Right. So, and the things that appear, lower, it's not that they're not important, but so try and list out your experience in that way. And of course, pay attention to the instructions, because, they could say, make sure send in your CV, a cover letter, and then some people just send in a CV. So by doing these little things, you are discounting yourself. Okay. So one of the, top CV mistakes people make is definitely not reading the job description enough. So start to study your job descriptions. Pick out whenever I get a job description, I literally copy and paste it from wherever it is, if it's LinkedIn or it's Indeed or whatever, into a Word document, and I go about highlighting stuff. Okay. So this role, because let me use an HR example. They could say this role is responsible for partnering with business leaders across this, and this. And I'm telling them, I have 4 years experience partnering with business leaders across this, and this. So learn how to mirror your application, your CV, and everything else towards what the job description is saying, because they're literally telling you, this is what I want. Okay, so that's one. I think we could go to.
I love that, by the way, Tommy. I've never heard that before, but that makes a lot of sense. Copying and paste it into another document and then highlighting key words that are gonna be really important. That's a great tip.
Yeah, good. And then another. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to remember why did I make this slide? Okay, we're talking about CV mistakes. Okay, as I shared earlier, another CV mistake that's really common is, listing your responsibilities. I think you'll be amazed at how many people just copy their job description into their CV. It's like, okay, and then when you do that, it's almost like you don't even remember what you did. You just remember that, oh, this is what I was employed for. So go in there with the action words, right? And if you follow me on Instagram, you see this. I have this role-specific action words thing. I think I just have so much information on there. So just screenshot as much as you can and keep it. But and the reason why I go on and on about action words is that actually when you use these action words, it's much easier to picture you in the role. It's all psychological, but yes, it's absolutely true. So if you're writing there, that you secured partnerships with 4 international this, I'm literally imagining you doing that. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's good. I'd love to talk to this person more about this. And I came up with this, well, it's not mine, but yeah, this formula the CAR formula is very good for translating your work experience into your CV, right? So how you have, so think about the context. So the context is that, okay, I am responsible for recruiting non-managerial positions in my company. Okay, cool. That's the context of the role I have. So what do I do? What are my actions? I, first of all, I meet with the hiring managers. I, develop the job descriptions. I do the interviews, etc, etc. And what was the result? So I think back, okay, between January 21 and December 21, I've hired 150 people. Awesome. So by the time I've created that context, action, result story in my head, it's just how do I then put these together to make an action-packed, results-driven bullet point. So, for example, the one we have here, this person, I work in marketing and they're responsible for implementing marketing strategies, that would increase the revenue. So because what would have probably happened is on the job description, they would say, this role is responsible for implementing marketing strategies that would increase revenue. And the average person would just copy that and say, responsible for implementing marketing strategies to increase revenue. But I'm like, okay, fine, that's the context. But what was your own action? Well, what happened was, I analyzed some marketing strategies from actually 4 companies. And, everything, I have to say, everything sounds a lot more important. But when you think about it, you did the work, right? So what this person had probably told me was like, oh, yeah, I had to look at like 4 companies. So I looked at like Unilever, I looked at this, I looked at that. I'm like, okay, so those are 4 of the top FMCGs, okay? And they are across different regions. So that's really good. Yeah, so I looked at what they were doing and I just translated. I'm telling you, these are the kind of conversations I have on my career couch. And they're like, yeah, so I looked at what Unilever was doing and GSK was doing, and yeah, it looked fun. So I kind of took what they were doing and implemented it in our company. I'm like, okay, so you analyze their marketing strategies of like 4 FMCGs. Since it wasn't only in Europe, you looked across EMEA region and you adopted their approaches. And then she said, actually, when we started using this, the whole marketing thing got and then from there, we analyzed and implemented 4 new marketing strategies that improved XYZ in the first 12 months. So start thinking about your responsibilities in that way. Really create a story from it, because that's really the best way to move from, application to interview. That's how, and then what would then happen is, because you've broken it down in this way, because you created the story yourself, when you get into the interview and they're asking you, oh, you mentioned here that you helped your company improve the marketing something by 35%. How did that happen? You remember this story that you actually, and you're not lying. And that's number one, please don't lie, because you're going to have to back all of these things up. But you are remembering all of these and you're selling that story to the interviewer, to the recruiter, and they can follow you along. And what will probably happen is, that's interesting. That's how we do it here, or we don't do it in that way. This is how we do it. And that's how you create a lasting impression. And then avoid using the same CV for every single role, right? That's another thing that most people, again, I want to say a lot of this I'm sharing is all of the mistakes I made as well, which was why it was very hard for me to get into the job market. And when I finally realized that, look, these are all the things you're doing, I decided to give back via my career couch. So, avoid using the same CV for every single role. I promise you, no 2 roles are exactly the same. So even if you read the job description and you're like, oh yeah, this sounds exactly like what Deloitte wants, I promise you it's not. Still copy and paste that Deloitte CV onto the Word document, still highlight things, still pick it apart and make a new CV for Deloitte. It might just mean that, you don't need that much work as you would have if it was a fresh one, but really understand what's making this company tick and what they want. Okay, next slide. Another thing I wanted to share is about communicating your skills. So a lot of early career professionals like me, you have this very wonderful skill section on your CV where you list, skills, leadership, communication, teamwork, flexibility, proactivity. I know, because I did all of that. It's not going to help you because it really doesn't mean anything. They're just words. So when you want to show off a skill, my tip is to show your receipts with that skill. That's why a lot of CVs I make today, we don't actually have that skills profile anymore, because we take all of those skills, right, make a story out of it, and then put it in the job description. So you're trying to show that, oh, I have leadership skills. Okay, where did you exhibit those leadership skills? So you could talk about, your team project, for the final dissertation, I was the team lead, so I did. So that's fine. That's your leadership. Right? You want to talk about communication. So, right, fair enough, you have communication skills, but how can you show me that? So, is it your writing? Are you developing articles? Are you leading team meetings? Have you done presentations? Maybe you're the course rep, and because you're the course rep, you usually have to give updates to, the course people saying this. So yeah, all of that is good communication, right? So when you think of your skill, don't just stop at the fact that, oh, I have this skill. Go further, thinking, when have I shown this skill? And it'll be good if you've shown it to a successful. What am I trying to say? You've shown it with some degree of success, right? So you might feel like, oh yes, I'm a good team leader. And again, another thing I want to stress about your extracurricular activities, that they're all experience, right? Just gotten in a different setting. So if your team lead experience is because you are the team lead of your local football club, that's absolutely fine. Because a leader is a leader. It's just a different context. So just think, how am I showing that I actually have these skills? And I'm sure you see it everywhere where people say, show, don't know. Is it show, don't tell? Tell, I don't know. Toby, what is it? Is it show, don't tell?
Yeah, show don't tell. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Show don't tell. Yeah.
Yeah, show, don't tell. So yeah, show. Okay. And I think my final slide would be, next slide would probably be the final one, so that I just stop rambling. Yes, so job rejection. So this is me telling you will be rejected at least once in your life. Took me a while to come to terms with that, but honestly, wait for it. If you haven't been rejected yet, it's coming. Especially if you want to live a long and fulfilling career, you will be absolutely rejected. So just take that from me. There's nothing. Sometimes, there's some people I work with, and we, put in all our blood and sweat and tears, and we get a rejection, and they're shocked, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. So you will be rejected, but don't take it personally, right? I worked in HR long enough to know that rejections usually have more to do with the company than with you. Sometimes it has to do with the candidate, right? But it's either they're great, but that's not what this role needs. So you're not the problem. So, for example, right now I'm hiring for a senior accountant. We've met so many great people. But the way my company is set up is that, the operations are very lean. We need someone who can literally just come in and do the work. We don't really have a very big, onboarding program. Because, for example, when I worked at British Airways, the first 6 months because it's so huge, the first 6 months of the job, I've never been in so many trainings in my life. At some point, I was like, so when did we start working? Because we were just training. And so my company now, because it's much smaller, we don't have that. So if someone needs to come in with all that kind of training, they're going to get a rejection. So it has nothing to do with you. It's that we can't afford that training right now. We need someone who's more experienced, who knows the work from end to end, okay? And if you can, not if you can, every time ask for feedback. They might not always respond, but you make sure you're asking for feedback so you can understand what happened and learn from it, right? So ask for detailed feedback, because if they're saying, I remember one interview I didn't get the job, and they said, oh, it's because we're looking for someone who has a lot of senior management experience. I was like, well, I have that. So I guess that's the problem. I'm not showing my senior management experience enough. So next time I'm making sure, if I'm going for a similar role, I'm sure letting them know, oh, by the way, my role is a standalone role, and that's all I do, work with senior managers, right? So you make sure you're asking for that detailed feedback so you can identify, especially if, and then identify a recurring theme. So I worked with someone recently, and he's like, every time I always get to final stage and they always reject me because so I said, did you ask why? And they say, yes, lack of experience. So I said, so you're not showing that you have the experience, right? And I never leave any interview without asking the question. So is there anything that, do you have any doubts about my experience right now? That's actually, and then someone could say something like, oh yeah, we're looking for someone with a bit more experience in Excel. But oh, that means that, oh, you could just tell them, oh, I'm actually, an expert in Excel. I have done this. I must have left that out on my CV. My apologies, but I've done this. Don't apologize. Sorry. I've done this, so ask, is there anything that's making them hold back? Just find a way to ask that question. So go through your emotions. I'll definitely say it's quite an emotional thing if you're getting rejected over and over again. But sometimes, even in those rejections, you just have to review and reflect that, look, why am I getting so many rejections? It might be I'm not making enough targeted application. So, and that might lead to burnout, because I've definitely been there. As I said, it's like back-to-back rejections at some point. But as I know now, because I didn't do anything in uni, I just expected to graduate and get all, people would just see me, like me, and give me a job. So what you should definitely do is narrow your job search, right? Identify jobs that are the best fit for you. Identify companies that are the best fit for you, and really target them. So making a few targeted applications is a lot more rewarding than just going the spray and pray, as we call it, just apply, because you think it looks good. So narrow that job search. I'm very big on setting your work hours. So definitely have a job search schedule, and rest, right? Your body needs rest. Network strategically. So a lot in the past, I actually can't remember the last job I applied for because, okay, now I can't now, but earlier this year I would have said that, because staying connected has helped me. People are saying my name in rooms I haven't been in. So it's like, oh, I have this advisor. She's good. You want to speak to her? And that's what I was telling you about the hidden job market. They can say, this role is about to go live. Are you interested? And that's how it has been for me for a while, up until recently at least. And then remember your wins. If your confidence is going low, just remember that, look, I am healthy. I am wealthy. The song. So yeah, remember your wins. Seek support. I hope everybody knows that song. I love that song. Seek support if you need to. You can work with Toby. Toby's platform is actually very good. I should tell you, Toby, your interview. I think you have this interview.
Interview guide, the
Yeah, the
interactive
interview guide.
interview
I should tell you, I showed you someone, he got the job. So that's a win for you. So seek support, right? There are lots of platforms like these that have free resources. Even YouTube, it's all there. Go on there if you can't afford to pay for something, and just learn new ways of doing things. Right? If you're, in Nigeria, they say if you do the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result, then it's a sign of madness. Very, very bad advice, but that's what they say anyway. That's a sign of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same, a different result. And then stay positive, visualize things working out for you. And yeah, this is just me giving you a pep talk now. But, the number one thing with rejection is to identify the themes, think about the feedback and just find out where can I improve. So that's it with my slides. I hope I have helped in some way. I'm so sorry my video can't go on. I really wanted to show my face, but
No problem at all. That was incredible. Honestly, the actionable advice that you're sharing is just exactly what people need. It's sometimes you get generic advice, that you can't put to the test, but you've laid it out there really, really simply, and I can tell everyone's loving it because pretty much no one's gone anywhere. Everyone's sat taking it all in, and getting lots of thank yous already. Awesome. Let's now get to the questions. Okay. So as we go through these guys, we've got time for a few more. So try and get your questions in, and we'll address as many as we can. And it's good you've voted for the ones that you want to come up first. So Tomi, we're going to go through these. So
okay. So I think Abigail's has the most votes.
Abigail has the most correct. So yeah, when doing a career transition, how do I leverage the job application to make sure I'm not starting from the bottom again in a new industry? Tricky first one.
Okay. So I think with career transitions, you have to identify what are the transferable skills and experiences that I'm bringing from my old career path or my old job into this new one. I have to say some of them, you might have to start from the bottom again. I remember in 2019 or something, I had this epiphany that I was going to be like one of the best software engineers in London. I was ready for that. I couldn't do it, it was really hard. But then something like that is being realistic that you might have to start from the bottom again in a new industry. And that's fine, because sometimes in your career, you literally have to go back to go forward. But if you've definitely identified that, look, with all this experience I have in this, where I'm coming from, it's valid to the next role, to where you're going next. It's up to you to sell that. If you don't sell that efficiently, then they'll definitely think that, okay, you have to start from the bottom. So just make a list. Decide at what point did you identify that, look, I want to move into this new career. For example, I'll give you, I'm working in HR right now, and we collect a lot of HR data, right? I can literally tell you the cost per hire. I can tell you, the turnover ratio and all these things like that. But I'm not working with that data yet. But if I ever wanted to move into HR analytics, which is the side of HR that focuses on data, before I move into that, I'm first of all going to understand, okay, what happens in HR analytics? Well, I'm going to take myself, even if I have to do any online courses, watch any videos, train myself to get ready for a career in HR analytics. So find out, I already know they use systems like Tableau, whatever, Power BI, those kind of tech software, so on. Make sure I know how to use those. I don't expect the company to train me. Then to start getting experience in my current role. So as I said, I'm already collecting the data, but I pass it off to the analyst. So now it's me going to start working closely with them, saying, oh, I really like to know what exactly you do with this data when I give it to you. Can you show me? So then I'm taking on freelance projects in that way. So that when maybe 6 months, down the line, I then want to make that transition. I'm showing them actual work that I've done, so that when they're asking questions, I'm going off actual experience rather than just passion. The problem with a lot of career pivoters or transitioners is that they had like an epiphany at some point that, look, I'll make a good XYZ. And then you're like, okay, cool. So what have you done? Nothing. And then they don't want to start from the bottom because but I'm like, well, you kind of have to give more than passion. We need, results. We need to see what you've done. We need to see that, as we said, we need to see that can do, the hustle spirit, the will do. We need to see the fit. Okay. So, actionable advice, find out where you want to go. So find out the role you want to be in next. Find out what they do, literally the day-to-day realities of this job. So in this new job I'm trying to transition to, this is what they do, this is how they do it. Now, in where I am currently, do I have any experience at all in this? If the answer is yes, start getting more experience, even more. If the answer is no, start looking for the experience and making sure you can actually do the job. I hope that answers it in some way.
Absolutely. No, that was an incredible answer. And so hopefully you can put that into place. So next question here from Jennifer. I have applied for jobs for a long time and I'm getting tired, to be honest. What tips do you have in writing a CV and cover letter that will secure me an interview, since I'm waiting to graduate from my master's? And I'll give you just a breath there, Tomi, while you have a think about that. And the first thing I would say is, it's fine to take a break. If you're facing a lot of rejections in the row, like Tomi said earlier, it's best to take your time and do a really, really tailored application. Do fewer, make them better, but also absolutely fine to have a break and take some time off. And then secondly, you're doing the right thing, which is coming to these events, right? Because now you're going to leave with a much better, the next application you do is going to be way better than the last one, based on the everything that Tomi's shared. And we'll share the slides after this as well. So if you can put this into place, you're really going to turn a corner. But anything else to add to that, Tomi?
No, absolutely. That's it. So I think, and if you're getting rejected over and over again, then there's always two problems to identify when people are applying. A screening problem is when you're not landing interviews. So there's this problem with how you're selling yourself on paper. And hopefully with the tips we've shared today, you go and look at that again. You take the job descriptions, really tear them apart, pick them apart and say, okay, what is this job looking for? Right. And then tailor your experience towards it. So I don't know if you have any experience at all. If you don't, maybe it's time to start looking into these virtual internships, volunteer roles, short-term projects to get the experience, because it's a very tough market out there, right? And again, nobody's winning on passion anymore, right? I've gone out the days where like, this graduate is very passionate about this. Even graduates are coming out these days with lots of part-time work, right? Is there anything more you can do to sell yourself into this role, right? And then you said you're about to graduate from your master's. Okay, that's fine. So are there any student opportunities right now that you could take advantage of? So a screening problem is when you're not selling yourself enough for an interview. If you're getting interviews and then not landing any offers, then it's a communication problem. So you're definitely still at the screening stage. And you can send me a DM. Let's see what's going wrong.
That's very kind of you. And any thoughts just on cover letters as well? Any quick tips there?
Gosh, with cover letters, there are no quick tips on cover letters. Cover letters are so important, but unfortunately, we weren't taught how to write cover letters the right way. Okay, how can I summarize this? Cover letters first of all, they shouldn't be too long, right? Think of a cover letter as the love letter to a company. Literally, if a company can take off their name from the cover letter and it will make sense to anyone else, then you're not showing, it's not a strong cover letter, basically, right? So look through the job description. As I always say, everything starts with that job description, I promise you. Pick out 2 or 3 of their maybe top responsibilities and show them why you'd be the best for that particular opportunity based on what they want. So, the company has said, we're looking for someone I'm running out of roles in my head now. What can I use? They're
Digital
looking,
marketing.
yeah, they're looking for a digital marketer, right? Help me here, Toby. Give me one bullet point for a digital marketer.
We want the good analytical skills because we want them to analyze previous campaigns and then to inform future campaigns.
Fantastic. So they've told you they're looking for a digital marketer to analyze previous campaigns, previous campaigns. You're highlighting all of that in your Word document. So in your cover letter, you're picking on that one because that's the first bullet point. When have I analyzed campaigns? Even if it's just in your free time, right? You can talk about how you worked on a personal project highlighting this, and this campaign. Maybe you saw them in the news that they ran, the biggest campaign for back to school and it had all of these ratings. Talk about how you enjoyed that. And actually you looked further into that campaign, you understand what the digital marketing team did. And it's looking at stuff like that have made you, want to come and work with that company. The problem with cover letters is, as I said, we were never taught how to write cover letters. And I definitely struggled with cover letters in the past. But think of it, as I said, as a love letter to the company. It has to speak specifically to that company. And if you'd been doing your research, prior, if you'd been meeting people, you'd be able to get insights for that cover letter that will help you stand out. But again, as I say, since it's Jennifer, if you DM me, then we can go through your CV, your cover letter. Because what's probably happening is, I haven't seen anything, and I'm sorry if I'm judging. It's probably all too generic. I know, and I'm telling anything I tell you now is because I've been there. You think it looks good, but if someone looks at it again, it's like, okay, well, this is generic. It could be anyone. Yeah. Oh, sorry. She did say I want to work in digital marketing, and I have.
Oh, perfect guess then.
Where I took part. Yeah, so you have experience. Look, let me tell you, having experience is the strongest place to be. So in your voluntary experience in marketing, where you took part in a leadership program, what exactly did you do? Literally think back to your day to day, right? So even if you were just analyzing, as we said, previous campaigns, if you were working on the documentation, what exactly did you do? Translate all of this into achievements. But yeah, we'll talk.
Brilliant. And like you said, it was an incredible point. If you've not got the experience, just analyze in your spare time, and that will go a long way. Just a little bit goes a long way. You
really
do that
does.
once or twice, and you impress me in the interview by saying you've done that. And because 99% of people won't bother to do that. So, question from Zinat. As an international student, also from Nigeria, shout out Nigeria, me too, of course.
Yeah.
and a postgraduate student. How challenging will it be to get into a graduate program?
Well, everything is challenging, right? Nothing comes easy. So it's definitely going to be very challenging. But it's up to you to, as I said, you see, everything in life is about sales and marketing, right? Really actually see yourself as a product, right? You're a very expensive product made up of skills, experiences, varied interests. And your job is to sell yourself to the recruiter as their problem solver. I was on a webinar one time and they said, why do people buy things? And they said, you buy something to solve a physical need. So you're hungry, you buy food, that's your physical need. You can buy any food in the world, but you go specifically for Krispy Kreme donuts because they make you happy. So that's an emotional need. So we buy things to sell, to solve a physical need and an emotional need. It's the exact same way with employers, right? They're buying your skills because one, you've shown them that I can solve this physical need of the problem you have right now. And then the emotional need is this person has come across well in the interview. So I'm imagining my life, I'm imagining my team, I'm imagining my company when this person comes on, how happy they're probably going to make me. So that's why, and everything starts from one, the job description. Another thing I always do is to go a step further and reach out to people in the company, let them know that, look, I see this job is open now. What's the team dynamic? What they're looking for? How can I sell myself into the role? I really like it based on what, I like the product that's being sold. I like the way the company is, my thoughts, right? So talking to people on the inside can really give you enough information to make you stand out. But, to properly answer, to just summarize, it's going to be very challenging, but it's up to you to have so much information so that when you get to the point where you're sending off the application, you have enough. Remember how I opened this whole thing saying a winning job application is the sum total of everything you've done prior to sending in that application, right? It can be a lot of us, what we do is that at the point of sending it off, you quickly start Googling things or checking what's there. So start the research early. If you're still in school, start the research early. Start identifying companies you'd like to work in, maybe 5, 6 of them. Identify people in these companies, try and reach out to them. What I always do is on LinkedIn, I search companies, I go to the people section, and I look for people like me, Nigerian, Black. They're probably more likely to help. Or, maybe someone who went to my uni. I'm saying, hey, I'm also an LSE alum. Can we talk? This kind of thing. So start building that. Just start doing that research. If you can get on informational interviews, just doing a lot more, so that when you get to the application stage, you have enough information.
Absolutely, another incredible answer. And yeah, of course, it will be tough, but it can absolutely be done. People do it every single year, and you kind of want to save yourself time, right, by only applying to companies that are able to, if you need a visa, able to sponsor your visa and so on, to save that time.
Yes,
as we go through the last few questions, yeah, do drop in the chat. How are you finding this? I know you're loving it, I'm sure, but what aspects are you finding useful? What are your key takeaways? Drop that in the chat as I go through the last questions. What have we got next? So for another one from Zianat, how do you go about application questions that sound like interview questions? So for example, why do you want to work here? Or where do you see yourself in 5 years in this industry?
Yes. Understand that everything a company is doing or asking about is in relation to their job, right? So any question you read from a company is not a trick question. They literally want to know, does this person want to be here? So why do you want to work there? First of all, ask yourself that question. Why do you want to work there? Right? So go beyond, I know we want to work for money, but go beyond that, right? What about them sets them, there's so many, you can work anywhere as, a marketing assistant, but why me? Like, companies just want you to love them. At the end of the day, the person who gets the job is not the most qualified person. It's the person who sells themselves the most. I'll be very honest. I've done this long enough to know it's just confidence. Because some of them get on the job and just do a really terrible job. But, they sold themselves into the role. So why do you want to work there? So go through the company's mission, go through their vision, and then find ways. My secret sauce for like interviews, all these kind of questions, always give the answer and an example. So why do you want to work here? I want to work at this company because beyond finance, you're very big in sustainability. I too, I recently started a recycling program in my local community, and I'm the treasurer there, and it combines my interest in both finance and sustainability. So while I'll be, you'll be working in finance here, I'll be doing a good job, but I also buy into the bigger company values. So give them that answer, but give them an example from your personal life to show I am not just saying this, right? And then where do you see yourself 5 years in industry? That what they want you to do is to, first of all, study them and study the industry. So what happens in 5 years in the industry? Because if you say, for example, I work in HR now, in 5 years, if I say in 5 years, I want to be the director of HR, that's not how it works in HR, right? You progress from, advisor to partner to, stuff like that. So they want to see, one, do you have a career path? And two, can we support that? Because, say, for example, on the graduate program, they tell you this 3-year graduate program, you'll be rotating on this and this and this seat. But then you're telling them in 3 years, you want to be in the marketing team. What they're going to say, unfortunately, we can't give you that. So that's a rejection. Okay. So understand that everything that's being asked of you from a company in interview, application questions, it has to tie back to that company. And if you find that, honestly, be honest with yourself. If you find that when you're answering these questions, you don't let the company go, right? If in 3 years you actually do want to be a marketing associate, but in this company's graduate program, in the 3 years you wouldn't have even started your marketing journey, just don't work there.
Absolutely. And yeah, thanks again, Tomi. We're obviously going over a bit, but we had a bit of a delay at the beginning. So no, I'm happy to keep going. I just wanted to say to everyone else, thanks for sticking with us, and we'll keep getting through these questions because I think it's really valuable. As long as you're still happy to stay with us, Tomi, but let me know if you've got to leave. And I'll just mention again, everyone. So do go away and put these tips into practice. We've got lots of opportunities on the job board. They're all pinned to the top of the chat there at wearediversejobs.io. And we've got some employers that are advertising exclusively with us. So every month, every year, I'm pushing employers to give us more benefits to, to allow them to work with us and give us more benefits to our community. And one of those is, early access to opportunities. So there are a few roles on there that you're only going to find on our job board for the first couple of weeks. And that's specifically because they've really focused on diversity and inclusion, and they want to give you an advantage in the job market. So take full advantage of that as well. There's another question I wanted to get to because I think it's very, very important from Precious. And Abigail, I think it was Abigail, gave a very nice answer to this in the chat. But as a female, I usually don't feel like I deserve or I am good enough for the role. How do I not show this lack of confidence in my application?
Yeah, I used to be there. Reminds me of me. I have to say, Precious, confidence comes from doing. My confidence came from doing, right? So I really lack confidence because I didn't have any experience. I wasn't doing anything. I was seeing people winning. I wasn't getting anything. I was just wallowing in self-pity. But I promise you, once you take the first step, right, even if it's to put yourself out there, and you can start small. So my very first, I'm from Nigeria. So my very first job, it was as a teacher in a nursery school. I really loved it, actually. But it was part of, I was a teacher in a nursery school. But just being in a corporate environment, contributing to something, it helped me with my initial confidence. It definitely did. I was seeing how my work was being valued. And so that was just helping me try the next thing. Okay, so I've enjoyed teaching. I like it, but I can't really build a career from this. So what next? Right. So then I got a job in facility management. So that was also fun. I was enjoying the projects, but I still had this HR degree. And I remember the HR projects I had done. I'm like, I think I actually work in this HR thing. So I networked my way into a role. So my confidence, and I'll be honest and say I'm not a confidence coach or a life coach or anything. So I might not even be the best person for this advice. But my confidence really came from doing. By just doing things, putting things to your name, building steadily. Don't rush yourself, because I'm definitely behind in my career, but that's fine. I love it. I'm enjoying where I am right now. Well, no, I'm not. I don't know. But anyways, I'm enjoying where I am right now, and I'm a lot. Look, I'm telling you, there's one time I was supposed to give a talk one time at school. And then I got on stage and I just started crying because I had stage fright. But now look at me here. People be like, yeah, you're such a good speaker. I deceive myself on my, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you see that my banner has speaker. I'm like, lol. Who calls you a speaker? But like confidence comes from doing, right? So just put yourself out there and try something. Right. If you keep believing that I don't deserve, and then you can start small, start with the volunteer role, start with short-term projects where you're not really being judged too harshly. And as you gather these wins, it'll be a lot easier to sell because look, I've done this. And if you feel like if you benefit from a coach, then definitely go for one. I'm very big on investing in myself these days. I go for it. I go for everything. I pay for it. I just go to things and it just helps me. So I hope that answers it in some way.
I'm sure it did. And I'm just responding to a few people in the chat. Everyone's really, really found this so useful. So you're on an absolute roll. So next question, is it okay to negotiate? Oh, actually, first, before that, I'll do them all in order. Do you think it's still worth applying for a job that requires a minimum 1 year experience when you have none? I'm going to take that one. I'm going to say yes, 100%. Do it, lock it down. Donald Trump was president, and he definitely didn't meet the criteria of that role. So, that should give you confidence. But no, definitely do it. And in all seriousness, I think the point I'd want to share on this is a lot of times employers will say, actually, we would hire someone who only meets 50% or 40% or 60% of the job description. So don't, self-reject, put yourself out there and try and apply if it's the right role for you. We've got roles now with Unidays that they say, years experience, but they're definitely open to no experience in that field. If you can do some of the other things that Tommy's mentioned. Happy with that, Tommy? Or is there anything else you want to
no, that's very good.
Basically, yes.
And I think, sorry, I have so many stories for everything. Sorry, because I've really lived this thing. Another thing you should do is understand what 1 year experience in this role requires, right? 1 year experience is literally admin. So they're looking for someone who has some form of admin experience, right? What happens? So whatever role is, so say I'll use HR again because I work in HR. So if I'm writing a job description that I need someone with minimum 1 year experience, 1 year as an HR administrator, I'm telling you, all you're probably doing is sending emails, you're organizing meetings, communications, calling people, booking things. So show how you have done these in either your private life or in, volunteer jobs or freelance projects, right? So show that experience. If it's 1 year experience as a digital marketer for some, it might be, or social media marketer, they might want to see, do you have any experience at all in developing content and stuff like that. So understand what 1 year experience of that, what somebody with 1 year experience of that job will be doing, and then show that you can do that.
Perfect. Next question we will go to is, which one do I want to do? So if you're just coming off a sabbatical, so a bit of a career break, should you be putting that on your CV to account for this in case you have experience, and is your strength at the moment? So essentially, if you have a sabbatical, should you outline that on a CV as a sort of outline and justification for why you had that break, and should that be on the first page of your CV?
100%. So it should be wherever it needs to be. So this year, I was working with a mom. She took, she did like work experience here and there, and took like maybe like 5 years off to raise her kids. So we literally put it there as work experience. You know how you would list the work experience. So we just put, maybe 2010 to this date, career break. If you've done anything else within that career break, feel free to share that as well. But don't be pressured to, right? Any employer that cannot recognize that, life happens, things have to happen, I needed that flexibility, need to take time off for whatever reason. Another person I worked with, she had to take that about 2 years off because of ill health. So it's right there. This date to this date, medical leave. So show your experience, put it right there. If you don't put it there, the problem is you're now leaving doubt in the recruiter's mind. And it's not every time they'll call you to confirm. So say, for example, I get CVs and I see that this person hasn't worked since 2015. I will always put it to the side that, I'll call this person to find out what happened. It doesn't always happen, especially when I've gone through so many and I've scheduled those ones. So you want to address any sorry to call it a red flag, but as we will call it, you want to address any red flags immediately. So just say it there. If you want to add small, maybe one bullet point, took sabbatical off to do XYZ, now returning to the market with 4 years prior experience, that's fine.
Perfect. So last couple of questions here. So is it okay to negotiate the salary for an entry level job, or will that reflect badly on the candidate?
I love how all these questions are where I've been. My very first salary, I didn't negotiate because I was thinking it would reflect badly. And obviously, as you do, you work in HR, so you saw everybody's salary, and I'm like, what? Why my salary so low? So please always negotiate your salary. But you have to negotiate from a place of information, right? So you don't negotiate thinking, I guess you negotiate because you deserve it, but you're coming in saying things like, I've done my research, comparable positions here in, in London for this marketing assistant are paying XYZ. I noticed you're paying this, but with my experience in this, I was actually hoping for a salary of this. So you have to come correct. Otherwise, HR, what we do is that we'll poke holes in your story and get you back down to where you didn't want to be. So by default, always negotiate your salary, but come from a place of information, because there are some companies that exist on, they offer banded roles. So it might be that actually there's no what's it called, flexibility to negotiate, but at least, and with those ones, at least you tried and you got good negotiating experience. Negotiations are tough, right? It's a muscle you build over time. So the quicker you start, the better. Otherwise, you're going to spend years playing catch up. So, if you're not negotiating, say you start a role on, let's say 20,000, but most people are already on 25. When they're moving to 30, you're probably moving to 22. When they're moving to 45, you see you're still on 30 and you think you're moving, but really you're behind. And then you spend years playing catch up. So in the next few years, you're then trying to look for a senior role just so you catch up, but you've already taken that small salary. So yeah.
And we'll absolutely do a session specifically on salary negotiation, because I think it's so important. So let's definitely do that. Okay, let's make these the last two questions. So
I have time.
any further questions that's going to come up, we'll save for part two. So can narrowing down the challenges a department faces. So let me read this again. So I'm getting tired now. It's past.
Sorry, no, it's a continuation
No.
of her first question.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can narrowing down on the issues, I guess, the challenges that department's facing, can that help you in the interview process?
Of course. As long as I said, you're coming from a place of information. So look at it in this way. Say, you've seen you like this role, right? You network with someone, you messaged someone on LinkedIn and they were like, yeah, this role is open because, we're opening a new office in Turkey and there's just so much work. So we need someone to come in immediately. So that could be your, what's the question again? So narrowing down the challenges you want to, yes. So that could be your selling point. After speaking with XYZ person, I'm aware that the company is now expanding into Turkey and that's bringing a lot of challenges in terms of, workload. I'm a skilled administrator and I'll be able to balance that workload by doing this. See, the thing with companies, give them the facts, right? That's why that's what has really helped me. I'm so, anything you have an answer for, as I said, give the example. I know you need this, or this is my answer, and this is how I'll do it. So it's a lot easier for them to picture you in the role. So yeah, narrowing down the challenges. It could be the challenges. It could be, the growth prospects. It could be a new product line that they've launched. It could literally be maybe what they're doing in society. A lot of you are in school. It could be like, I loved it when, you guys came to my school and you talked about this and you told us about your social mobility work. And that's when I knew I wanted to work in this company, because aside from working in marketing, I also very passionate about social mobility because of my back, etc. So just give them the information. Yeah. And don't mince, when I'm giving them the information, don't mince words. You let them know that, look, this is what I'm about. I think that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Perfect. No, perfect. We're definitely doing part 2, by the way. I'm gonna get you to promise that now while everyone's watching.
Part 2 on if it's salary negotiation, do not choose me.
No, not salary negotiation.
Okay, good.
But just, I don't know, anything career.
Anything. Yes. Absolutely.
Next one.
I love all of this career stuff, because as I keep saying, gosh, when did I graduate uni? 2010 to 2013, abysmal. I went through hell because I didn't do all these things I'm telling you now. So I don't really want to do that.
But that makes you the perfect person, right?
Yeah.
You've gone through this and you've learned now and you've won awards for being so amazing at it. So so Alera's asked, following up. So how do you follow up with recruiters and employers after careers events or after you've applied for a job?
Yeah, so with following up with recruiters, that one is always quite awkward, right? Understand that, how do I approach this? Okay, so you go to this networking event, you speak to someone. I think the very first thing is, before you go to these networking events, decide, why am I going to these networking events, right? So I want to work in Linklaters, I want to be a lawyer and I want to work in like a Magic Circle law firm. So who are the people going to be there, right? The best way to present yourself at networking events is to have done some research beforehand. And another tip I would say is, don't wait for an event to be called a networking event before you network. If you find yourself somewhere with people, it could be breakfast meetings, even happy hour, just mix, mingle, form new relationships. Because what actually happens is that at those actual networking events, there's like maybe 3 people from a company and everybody is scrambling to talk to them, right? So you could also do something really different and say, oh, hi, I know you work with this company. Is there anyone in your company that works? Oh, no, is there anyone? Yeah, no, is there anyone in your company in the marketing department that you think would be the best person to talk to? Because I'm really trying to break into marketing. And they might say, yeah, add XYZ on LinkedIn. She's very good. Because what happens at these networking events, as I said, there's like 2 people, maybe one person from HR, one person from like another company, and everybody's trying to network. But being in HR, I know nobody wants to network with me because they want to be my friend. They want to network with me because they want me to give them a job in my company. So HR already has that, we need to do this. So target people ask the people there who else you can talk to within the company. So target people you like to meet, look for referrals through those contacts that you have right there. Look for common ground as well. So I remember one of the messages I sent to someone one time was because they were talking about how, they grew up in Nigeria as well. They studied law, but they hated it. So that was my common ground. So find the common ground as well. Keep it interesting. But to be fair, as I said, these networking events, there's always like two people that everyone's trying to talk to. So come from a different angle. Ask them, this is the department I'm trying to get into. Is there anyone in that department right now that you think would be the best person to speak to, a student like me? And then take it from there. And then, just speak with them. I'll probably share with Toby some questions I came up with for informational interviews that you can ask people when you're networking with them. I know how tongue-tied people can get when they're networking, because again, I used to be there. But now I can network in my sleep.
I don't really believe that about you being tongue-tied, to be honest, but I'll take your word for it. This has been incredible. Pero has got a question there about salary. I think we'll save that for another session.
No, let's do last one. Let me.
Oh, you're ready to answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what should you say if you ask? Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So what what should you say if you're asked for your salary expectation during a phone interview? Does it reflect badly if you're not ready to disclose at that stage?
No, I mean, it doesn't reflect badly. And number two, HR would always push, or recruiter would always push. So again, as I said, negotiating is a muscle that you develop the more you do it. So everyone, whenever you're asked for your salary expectations, do your best to ask them for the budget. I say that knowing that I'm HR, and I will still try and back you into a corner saying, well, you tell me what you want. But just say, what is the budget for this role? I know that comparable positions in the UK, especially in London, for similar fintechs pay between £2 and £3. Are you within that bracket? Always refrain from giving a number, because what happens is that number will be held onto, and then you find really hard to get out of that number. So give a range of what, and always come from a place of information, as I said. So find out what they're paying in London for those roles, for someone with your level of experience, your background, and all of that. And if they say, yeah, it'll be somewhere, so we're only offering £2, say, okay, well, that's a nice start. I'd like to go through the rest of the process, really understand, because always understand. I always try to get them to understand that, look, I'm being paid for my work. If I'm here to do ABC, and you are paying me for ABC. So let me try and hold off on salary to the end, because you want to get a full picture of what it is you'll be doing. Right. And guys, no matter how juicy the offer sounds, and the first phone call, always say, oh yeah, that sounds like a good start. Always say that. So that, when you get there and you find out your friends in the same roles in other companies, they're paying them 200 and they told you 5. Like, okay, well, as we said, that's definitely a good start. But now that we've gotten to the end of the role, you're telling me I'm going to be handling HR, admin, payroll, HR projects. I definitely think that's a lot different from what we talked about initially. So I'm expecting more of XYZ.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, but oftentimes employers are asking for your salary expectations because they are worried about perhaps someone expecting a much, much higher salary than they have the capability to give them. And so they don't want to waste their time, going through a process with someone who wants 100K, but we can only offer you 30 or 40K, right? So if you kind of give a range which you think is realistic, that's quite safe, because often you'll have it on the application process, right? So
yeah, 100%. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So part of it, as you said, is not wasting time, but also you don't want to be too tied to a figure in the beginning. So give that range. So I know comparable positions in London are paying between this and this. Is that kind of where this budget sits as well? And they'll be like, yeah. So we're looking at, maybe 50 to 60, and okay, yeah, that sounds good. Those are my thoughts as well. I haven't, and then you just take it from there.
Yeah, and no matter what you say, you can still go and negotiate later on as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. So this has been incredible. I think everyone wants to reach out to you. So are you happy for people to engage with you? Obviously, go and follow Tomi on Instagram, My Career Couch. I put it at the top of the chat. So that's My Career Couch on Instagram. Is that the best place for people to reach out to you, or LinkedIn as well?
Please. My LinkedIn is so formal. So everybody there's like job, recruiter this, company this. So I have so many unread emails there. But Instagram, yes, that's my favorite place to hang.
Go check that out. And
I see Dotton's message. If you don't have Instagram, then yeah, that's fine. DM me on LinkedIn, but I prefer Instagram.
Perfect. And she's given up a lot of time, a lot of great advice. The least you can do is go give her a follow on Instagram. So that's
Oh, no,
my
they
career
have.
cut.
Thanks, everyone. I can see them.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Tomi. We're going to see you again tomorrow. No, we're going to see you again in another session. This has been incredibly helpful. Everyone, I hope you found that really useful. I'm sure you did. We're going to keep these coming. Feel free to reach out to me. Let me know what you want us to cover. You know, we're only doing this to benefit you. So I'm just guessing what I think is going to be most valuable. And I've managed to get one of the best people in the world to do this. So I hope you appreciate that.